If you're wondering what Anno 117 Pax Romana has to offer, then let me show you an overview of the gameplay, its features, plus some other non-gameplay information that might be of use to you when you're thinking about buying the game. Let's first get started with a short summary. And just so you know, you don't have to worry about spoilers in this video. Anno 117 is a classic city builder game in which you take on the role of a governor in the ancient Roman Empire. It has two game modes, the campaign, which can be played co-op with friends to solve quests, and endless mode, which is essentially a sandbox experience in which you are free to build and conquer to your heart's content in single player or multiplayer with friends in either co-op or competitive mode. The main gameplay loop follows the classic Anno series formula, which means starting out on an island with a single trading post, build a small town, and gradually turn it into a large city by unlocking new population tiers, in turn achieved by providing them with certain goods such as sandals or olive oil, and giving them access to public buildings such as a place of worship or education. The campaign will of course cover all the systems and introduce you to all features step by step, preparing you ultimately for what attracts most players, the sandbox, or in this case endless mode. Starting out, you get to choose between one of two provinces, Latium or Albion, with the former focusing on building typical Roman cities with classical architecture and population befitting the core Roman imperial heartland, and the latter representing the Celtic way of life, where Albion's rainy wetlands and marshes are in stark contrast with the sunny, grassy islands of Latium. Albion also gives you a choice in choosing between a traditional Celtic populace or a Romanized one. Each culture has its own unique character, with most buildings having a different look and feel, and some being really unique, tied to that specific culture. Regardless of which province or culture you choose, fulfilling the needs of your people is a core feature, and somewhere along the way you'll start expanding to other islands to gain access to other raw materials or fertilities you don't have on your starting island. This of course leads to the player having to tie everything together and make sure the entire supply chain is optimized for efficiency, which only becomes increasingly more important as you progress from the mid to late game. At sea, your trade vessels make sure resources can be traded between your islands by setting up trade routes to consolidate materials and enable you to produce the more complex items required by the higher tiers of your population. You can configure ships at the shipyard using the new modular ship system, where you can choose which system to install to give a ship more speed or more firepower by installing oars or archery towers. Depending on the chosen difficulty setting, however, your trade routes will be raided from time to time by pirates, so it's also necessary to build warships to protect your routes. On land, your warehouses, roads, and trade posts will be the main tools to manage your goods and make sure goods are picked up and delivered on time to keep things running smoothly. Aside from pirates, you can also engage in combat with rivals at sea and on land. Now you can choose from several different naval and army units, but be aware that they consume workforce and income for upkeep at a pretty steep price. Having said that though, on a personal note, I think it's great to see a bigger, maybe a more evolved role for combat in an Anno game. When you've played any game from the series before, you'll know that this has been hit or miss between titles. And maybe it has to do with the Roman Empire theme or something, but what I've been able to see for myself in-game so far is slightly reminiscent for me of Total War Rome, which I played for hundreds of hours back in the day. Now, I know I should be careful in making these kinds of, comparisons. I respect the fact that these are totally different games, but I'll just say that seeing legionnaires duke it out in the narrow streets of some sort of town triggered some of the fond memories I have of Total War Rome. But that's me. What I'm wondering about, let me know in a comment how you feel about combat having a larger, more defined role in Anno. Getting back on track, same as with trade ships, naval vessels can be modded and enhanced using the modular ship system and discovery tree benefits. There will also be different land units to use, so melee units, ranged units, cavalry, and artillery. In addition to health, Units also have morale, making them susceptible to routing and fleeing, so that's a little interesting detail. I'll make a separate video that focuses more on combat after the game has been released, and I've been able to just dump a couple of hours into it and make a concise video about combat, so stay tuned for that as well here on the channel later. As I briefly mentioned just now, you can enhance most of your buildings, ships and troops even more by researching upgrades or unlocking more space-efficient variants of standard buildings via the Discovery Tree. It contains 150 different discoveries spread out over 3 branches: economic, civic and military, obviously each focusing on a different part of your empire. Another way to buff your islands is by choosing one of the patron gods from the religion system. These effects grow stronger the more belief you generate from citizens living near buildings like sanctuaries. In addition to discoveries and patron god buffs, specialists can also help increase effectiveness of certain attributes like income or knowledge. These can be acquired by purchasing them from rivals or acquiring them as a reward for completing missions. Once yours, they can be housed in the villa and apply their effect to the island they're located on. On top of all of these gameplay features you'll encounter in any singular session, there's also the Hall of Fame, which could partially be labeled as meta progression. As you play the game and gain certain achievements or accolades as they're called, you'll gain a certain amount of fame, which can be spent to unlock cosmetics, player profile enhancements, or gameplay shortcuts. Shortcuts will be certain perks or specialists that will essentially speed up the game for you early on to get to the mid to late game faster and easier. Once you've unlocked any of these items or perks from the Hall of Fame, these will permanently be available to you in all future sessions. For example, when you unlock an ornament, you will be able to build it in any future playthrough without having to unlock it again. The game also offers various quality of life features such as an active pause, allowing you to perform actions while having paused the game, diagonal construction of anything basically, so you're no longer tied to that standard 90 degrees angle layout, but now you can rotate and place buildings and roads at a 45-degree angle as well. There's actually much more to discover here, but I won't be able to give you any proper idea about their input until after I've played a good number of hours. So if you want to see my full review after launch, subscribe to the channel to see that and more Anno 117 content in the coming weeks. Anno 117 is being developed and published by Ubisoft, specifically by the Minds studio, who has been the primary developer for the Anno series ever since Anno 1701, which released almost 20 years ago in 2006. Anno 117 will be releasing for PC via Steam, the Epic Games Store, or Ubisoft Connect for PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and S. And to install it, you'll need to have about 117 gigabytes available on your drive for both PC and console. Good to know is there will be crossplay and cross-save support on day one across all platforms. Now, unless you're using a streaming service, if you want to install the game on your device, then it will be available for preloading starting Monday, November 10th at 6 p.m. Central European Time or 9 a.m. Pacific Time. That is, of course, if you've pre-ordered the game, and if you're still on the fence about pre-ordering or buying at release, or right after, once you've seen some of the reviews on YouTube, like mine, so again, subscribe. Let me show you a quick overview on the game editions. Now, there are 3 versions: the Standard, Gold, and Governor's Edition. The base game is priced at $60 and offers the base game, and if you pre-order, you'll also get this package of cosmetic items. In addition to the base game, the Gold Edition, priced at $90, also gives you access to the first 3 DLCs that have been announced as part of the Year 1 Pass, which is kind of similar to Anno 1800 Season 1 Pass. Gameplay and content details on these DLCs have yet to be released by Ubisoft, but we know we'll be getting a new island, a large building project in the form of a hippodrome, and what seems to be a new culture, the Egyptian one to be precise, which leaves us with the Governor's Edition at $170, containing a range of physical items on top of the Gold Edition, with this Colosseum 3D puzzle and art book being the 2 frontrunners. Now I've made an entire video dedicated to the game editions and it goes in deeper detail, so I'll put the link in the description below if you want to get some information on each one, so you can hopefully decide what is the best bang for your buck. All in all, I hope this video has given you a good overview of what you can expect from the game, which I've been playing by the way for the past couple of evenings at the courtesy of Ubisoft, who gave me a review key. So I'll be sharing my preliminary review with you guys soon. I'll also be making more videos on Anno 117, so if you've enjoyed this video, then like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time here for some more fun and games. Now be sure to let me know if you have any questions or requests. For now, thank you guys for watching, I appreciate it, and see you in the next one. Bye guys.